Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rouge Rugby podcast. I'm Stu Hardy, joined, as always, by Derek Brissett. And Derek, what can you say? This weekend, the largest shutout win in MLR history goes to the Arrows. I mean, what did you make of this game?
Oh, man, obviously a delightful game to watch. It was, you can't really ask for much more other than 57-0. I know the boys seemed like they were the most proud of the zero at the other end of the scoreboard than the 50, which obviously it's the signs of a good defensive performance. And I just want to say I thank the Arrows greatly for taking my mind off of that disaster of a hockey team that was playing down the street for a few hours before unfortunately the Arrows game ended with about a period left to play. So ended up that was actually I thought it was actually really cool that the Arrows for the post-game social kind of threw it up on the scoreboard after, and whole crowd of people sticking around after the game to watch the end of the Leaf game. And unfortunately a result that is completely the opposite of the Arrows game, in the sense that it was another disappointing first round exit for the Maple Leafs. But it was cool to see kind of everybody sticking around and at the end of the game. So, another big plus for the Arrows match day atmosphere and experience. The Arrows put an Austin Matthews jersey on the bench for this game. It seemed to bring the Arrows a bit of luck, especially they scored at the pace that Austin Matthews is accustomed to scoring at during this game. So that worked out well, I think. And ultimately, I just think the biggest issue was that the Toronto Maple Leafs didn't put a Sam Malcolm or Lucas Rumball or a Mike Shepard jersey on their bench. So
see, no dedication to the city whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. If there was, if honestly, if there was like a James O'Neill jersey sitting on that bench, actually James O'Neill's a Canucks fan, or not a Canucks fan. James O'Neill plays for the Calgary Canucks, but he's a Flames fan because he's from Calgary, who is probably the happiest of the Arrow hockey fans right now. But I guess like if they if they want to put a Jack McRogers jersey on the bench, get that City jersey from the auction, and with the City skyline there, that probably would have won the game. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yes, things that they need to improve on for next season. More Arrows jerseys.
More Arrows jerseys on the bench. Yeah, that'll fix it. I'm here all day, Dubas, if you need any help.
Well, I think we've obviously started by talking about the Arrows game, and done like any of our episodes, we've gone into a different sport entirely. But let's get back to the actual game itself.
Is ice artificial water? Is that like a bridge there?
No, that's a different state of water.
It's a different state of water. Okay, I tried
as my elementary school science would have taught me. But
I tried to bring you back into that.
Anyway, let's talk about the game, because when the lineup was announced, a few things were brought into consideration. So a number of players were rested because there's a very short turnaround. This is basically similar to like rounds 1 and 2 of this season, where the Arrows were playing on the Sunday night, and then the next game was on the Friday night at Starlight Stadium. So, another 2 weekends in which the Arrows have to have a quick turnaround, which means they have to players out. So, Mike Shepard, Lucas Rumball, Sam Malcolm, all of them were off for this game, which meant the captain armband went to Giuseppe Toy, and Jack McRogers taking on the vice captain duties. And a pretty different lineup, and I think it is just circumstantial, because you're going from a team in MLR that has yet to win a game,
very depleted team that has yet to win a game at that too.
Yeah, to a team that is on a 10-match winning streak that you're looking to end. You have to balance the players out. I think it was early on this game, Tommy De La Vega, I think he went off for a head injury assessment, and Ronan Foley came onto the pitch during the first half. And then Foley himself, because we know that Foley's been such a phenomenal player and will likely want to be selected for the game against New England. He himself got substituted off, I believe, midway through the second half. I'm sure you have all the stats and information of the player changing during this game.
Who do you want to know when who came off?
When first of all, when Foley came on, and then when he came off.
Oh yeah, like he came on just before he scored the try, and then he came off around, I think, around 10 minutes left when Bailey came on, and then they shifted McRogers. They shifted McRogers over to flanker for like the last. They had two hookers on the field basically for the last 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, that does make sense. But yeah, so as you can tell by having those kind of, a different starting lineup, that good. Also good to see back in the starting lineup of Ross Brody. As soon as he caught the ball, got immediately hit by Dallas Jackals players, giving him a warm welcome back to MLR competition.
Got that knee tested out early, a couple big runs.
Yeah, and then ninth minute, had the penalty, quick tap, and then over for the first try of the game. First of 8 tries this game, wasn't it, Derek?
Yeah, Brody scored pretty quick. I mean, like he said, it's obviously great to see him back, especially given the Arrows scrum half situation, all the injuries that they've had. And, it's nice to see their best scrum half back, the guy that they, would be their first choice scrum half back. And, he played 40 minutes. I thought Peter Smith did a really good job in this game, just kind of managing players' game time. As you mentioned, Stu, there's going to be a very short week coming up. So I think that's important to do. And I think Smith did that well during this game. But yeah, Brody scored that opening try, and it was just, there was that line out play where there was just a massive gap that opened up in the Dallas defense right away that allowed Brody to run down and put the Arrows in the position to score anyways. And then he obviously on the quick tap to kind of finish it off. And then, yeah, just after that, it's just the floodgates opened.
Yeah.
And it's, so O'Neill scores a try. There was the Mirez try that got called back that I feel like a jerk for complaining about it being called back because they won 57-0. But point differential is a tiebreaker, and this is a very tight playoff race. So all the tries matter. So Mirez kind of scored a try that looked like it definitely should have, in my mind, it should have counted. My Arrows colored glasses, it should have counted. But got called back, unfortunately. But it was just like another was another example. Like, I think that was a box kick to Mirez, and Mirez just ran it back untouched until the end. But you have that, and then James O'Neill got his first MLR try, off a maul, which was really nice. And then Brody hit Detoy with a beautiful like flat pass that Detoy, easily grounded after. Another play that had a nice inside ball from Roland. Wadden has a huge break. Wadden offloads or passes it off to Foley. Foley finishes that try. Mirez gets his try right after. All these tries, like looking at it, are like literally like 3-4 minutes apart from each other. The whole pace of the first half. Lonnie Faleva gets his 4th try in 3 games, just absolutely on fire and playing out of his goddamn mind. And all other areas of the game too, just insane carries. He had that one hit that just annihilated. I can't even remember who it was, but you could hear it up in the press box. It was insane. And then, so they go into and then Will Kelly was incredibly accurate too. He finished the game 8 for 9 off the tee, so 7 conversions, 1 penalty. But and then McRogers just icing the game. I guess here in Faleva's footsteps on the team try leaderboard, so he had to take it upon himself to get that spot back by putting up a 2-try game in the second half. But yeah, it was just, yeah, man. I mean, I guess that's about how you sum this game up, man. It was one of those games where the turning point was the Arrows arrived safely to the stadium, and that's the game basically went downhill from there for the Jackals. But it's, yeah, I mean, there's not much you can complain about from the Arrows perspective. Basically a perfect game. I think, like I've mentioned, they seemed really proud of the fact that they put up a clean sheet. Nice for their first shutout this season. I think this is the second team that's been blanked all year. I think the Giltinis killed New York one game.
Yeah.
Right. So That was good, but it's like you can kind of tell because it's like Dallas, to their credit, really kept on battling throughout this game too. And there was a couple moments in the final like 5 minutes where they looked like, they were putting up a possible like scoring threat, right? And Andrew Quattrin came away with a nice breakdown steal at the end of the game to seal it. And you can kind of see a bit of emotion on the boys. You can kind of tell that putting holding Dallas to that zero meant a lot. And as I mentioned, with the playoff race the way it is, points differential is one of the tiebreakers. So a big 57-0 win could come into play later this year. But yeah, I guess that kind of sums the game up. Stu, any players you want to kind of dive a little bit deeper on, or any thoughts on Dallas or as well? Because I mean, obviously they've had a bit of a rough campaign.
Yeah, I mean Dallas. Like if they didn't have bad luck, they'd have no luck whatsoever. But something I do want to mention is Dallas's two remaining fit Canadians were in this match. That was Liam Murray and Dewald Kotze. Mm-hmm. And after the game, I did see them chatting with other Pacific Pride alumni like James O'Neill and Vicky Larney. So, always good to catch up with friends and stuff.
Yeah, there's a nice picture up on Liam Murray's Instagram page of all the Pacific Pride guys from this game. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's always good to see. I think I'd say like the first half was probably perfect. Obviously you want that Mirez, his first try to count as well.
I was going to say, shockingly, his first try this year. I know he's been hurt for a good chunk of the season too, but seems like an awfully long time for his first try of the year.
Well, he still has a few rounds left to take that top spot in the try scored.
There you go. Yeah, Jack
a good four tries each game between now and the end of the season. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm also saying it's not impossible either. Getting 4 tries between James O'Neill, DeToy, Foley, and Mirez, that was in the space of 9 minutes of game time. Like, absolutely fantastic.
And I mean, you can also add in that Mirez try that got disallowed too. Like that.
Yeah, so that would then be 5 tries if that counted. But then going into the second half, it seemed to be a case of like, okay, guys, we've done the job we need to do. All we need to do now is focus on defense. Attack is, it's still there, but we don't need to. Now that we've got the bonus point, I mean, it's only 4 tries and a bonus point. It's not 8 tries and 2 bonus points, which, maybe we should consider that for next season of
more. Get rid of the losing bonus point and have more bonus points for the more tries you put up. It's like a sliding scale.
If you get 8 tries, you get 2 bonus points. I think bonus points.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it. But I also feel like there was opportunities in the second half that went missing. Now you can always say that, when you're already, what was it, at halftime, like 41-0 up. 43-0 up at halftime. Then you have the opportunity to experiment and if things don't work, it's not the end of the world. It's a scrum to your opposition, but you have the capabilities within you to get the ball back and prevent scoring. I think there were 2 instances where Matt Hood, after getting the most meters an average player has accumulated in one match, had 2 opportunities to like offload the ball, and maybe there could have been like more arrows tries, but instead he just went into contact, and that was kind of disappointing to watch, as in like, maybe if those chances had come about, then, it would have been even bigger score tally than what we're already talking about.
It was 57-0, Stu. It's fine.
I know. But that's the thing. If I'm picking up on this, then certainly the coaches are as well, because it'll be now you could also go the other way and say, oh, we knew we could offload it like that, but we didn't want to give the other teams like Atlanta, New England, DC, we didn't want to give them an insight into what we're doing. We want to, lull them into a false sense of security and have them take over.
I think Dallas played a little bit better in the second half too. I think they were able to maintain a bit of possession and stuff. I think they were a little bit more competitive in the second half.
And a bad luck to like Jalen Tatum, who was hobbled off.
He was really good to start that game too.
And Roderick Waters. Also great to see Roderick Waters back in MLR after being cut from Austin from last year. But those wingers were like fantastic.
There's a couple guys on Dallas. Like I thought, like Naposki looks like, he seems like he's pretty dangerous, like with the ball in hand. And I mean, it's right. And like, he had some nice runs that all ultimately got shut down. I thought Jack, their open side flanker, Jack Palusek, I thought, at least, he made a lot of he made a decent chunk of tackles. He looked like he had a high work rate and stuff too. Same with Carter. Like they were involved in the game. It's just, I think for me, like looking at this roster that they have, and I mean, all the things that they've been dealing with this year, and obviously that walkway accident, and then listening to the broadcast after the game, they were mentioning there was some issues with a chunk of players coming to Canada, whether that's unvaccinated status or visa issues. Is like it, and I think looking at this, it's like it's a very makeshift like roster. And I mean, to the extent where like the GM's husband was one of the players that got called up to play, right? So it's like Elaine Vassie's like has to recruit her family in order to fill out a roster to play this game, right? So like that's kind of where they're at right now. And I mean, I guess credit to the Jackals for finding a way to get 23 guys and stuff and keep fighting on this season. But you can kind of tell that it's definitely like even through this game and stuff, it definitely looks like a team that hasn't played together very much, if at all, really.
It was something I remember
to figure it out.
I remember on Dallas's social media, they were saying that 4 players were playing in MLR for the first time, which may be
five guys playing in MLR.
Oh wow.
5 guys plus 2 guys making their Jackals debut. So it's like, and it's so it's like it's such a like it's tough too, because in all honesty, it's like it's I don't know, it's tough to watch sometimes because they're getting annihilated. Like I mean, they got to play LA and Utah, right? I mean, I know Utah's out of a playoff spot now, but like they got to play LA, man, next week. Like I mean, cool bet for this game had the spread set at 42.5. The Arrows beat that the Arrows covered that in the first half of the game. Whatever. Like I don't even know what the spread is going to look like for LA next week. Like one of the most high flying offensive teams in the league.
Well, then again, it may be that LA now that so they're not in a confirmed position for
they still got to clinch
because that's that's their opportunity, right? They can clinch, and then if they put up a point differential that can move, like they could still catch Austin, right? So like I mean, like they're still playing for that, so it's like I don't think hang on, let me just have a quick scan of the schedule.
I don't think they're getting like a light Giltini's team next week, because I think like Giltini still have a lot to play for.
Like, they may pick some guys that haven't been playing that much. Like
they might rest guys. I mean, they very well might, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like you kind of look at like the past couple games, and I mean, like what they lost 74-7 against Seattle last week. They lost 57-0 this week. I think they lost by 50 plus the week before too, didn't they? Like, it's
Dallas have
been a rough year.
If Dallas have any saving graces, it's the fact that they'll play LA, then they have a bye week, and then they play Utah to end the season.
So their last 1, 2, 3, 4. So their last 5 games, they've given up 57, 74, 53, 50, and 57. They've given up more than 50 points in 5 games in a row. And like the closest game of that was they lost to San Diego 53-14 is the closest game of that. And then you have two against Austin, they only had 3 points, and against Toronto, they got completely shut out. Right. So it's like,
Yeah.
At the like, I mean, at the start of the year, like when they had, I guess, like their proper roster, like there's some close games at the start of the year, but now it's just, yeah, I thought it's tough to watch sometimes. And I mean, uh, like good on everybody on that organization, like trying your best to, you know, get the team through the season and build that fan base. And I mean, all the respect in the world to the Dallas Jackals fans that keep showing up and keep watching the games to as well, man. It's like those are some passionate fans that they seem to have there. So hopefully, yeah, it's it's a tough year, and I know some of that's circumstances that are out of their control, but
Yeah.
tough go for the first year in MLR. But so yeah, back to the Arrows though. I thought a lot of guys played really well in this game too. Like I said, I think they can take a lot of pride in the fact that they didn't allow any points. There was very few gaps that opened up ever, and if they did, there was always somebody that seemed to come over, sweep over, and make a nice tackle covering that gap.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it was a very solid defensive line. The set piece was great. Wadden picking up a couple line out steals, getting his first start of the year as Mike Shepard was being rested. Wadden also had that nice try assist on Foley's try. I thought he had a great game. The entire front row, I thought was outstanding. Faleva, we mentioned, man of the match performance. He's been maybe arguably the best player in MLR over the past like 3 weeks. And you know, Mick Rogers picking up a couple tries, but he was also super involved with the breakdown. He led the team in tackles during this game. Roland was really active, very involved in the breakdown. He had that nice pass to set up Wadden that set up Foley for that try too. So you know, contributing in all facets of the game. Foley still obviously continues to be an absolute monster. You know, it was nice to see Mirez back doing some damage to a team. Hood was running, as you mentioned, just running all over the Jackals in this game. Brody played really well in his first game back. Reimer came on and did well in the second half. Detoy was doing well in the centers. I like McCann at center. I thought he played a good game for his first pro game at center. You know, so it's a lot of good things really happened in this game for the Toronto Arrows. It's nice to get that big win, and then you know it's shaping up pretty nicely. I mean, it's you know, you probably still need some help, but the more you win, the more it's kind of in your own hands here. And I think looking at the schedule for next week, so obviously the Arrows have New England on Thursday night, which is obviously a massive game, right? They're all massive at this point. So the Arrows got New England on Thursday night, and then on what's the 22nd? Is that Sunday? It's New York hosting Atlanta. So someone's got to lose that, right? So hopefully, I mean, maybe for math purposes, hopefully it's Atlanta, I guess. But like, yeah, someone's got to lose that, and then let's say like then the next game is going to be like the
Fire and Ice Cup.
Fire and Ice Cup, Toronto, Atlanta. Like, I mean, Atlanta obviously is on a slide right now. They've lost 3 in a row. So I mean, if that continues, like, you know, like this they're definitely not out of it yet, man. There's you know, they got to beat New England though, so that's going to be a tough task next week. You know, but I guess you got guys like Rumble, Shepard, rested up. Hopefully Malcolm, you know, just a brief injury that's worth, you know, just kind of resting that there. Who knows? Maybe Jamie McKenzie coming in with some reinforcements. But it, you know, it should be a good one. Obviously, this gonna be the Free Jacks' first trip north of the border too. Our first time getting to see Josh Larson and the massive Canadian contingent that they have over there.
Yeah, the Mounties are finally coming back to the Great White North. And something you just mentioned that we need to bring up. Obviously, the Arrows have had issues at scrum half this season. You know, just seems to be an injury curse over the 9 jersey. Well, we were joking before about Jamie McKenzie, maybe pushing off retirement a little bit longer. And now it's been confirmed that he has come out of retirement to play for the Arrows until the end of the season, whether that's in round 18 or in the playoff race. But, it's great to see Jamie McKenzie. Hopefully we'll get to see him in the blue and white once more. And he can do some scrum half magic, maybe snipe over for a try just to cap off his return from retirement. And yeah, it was obviously with the transfer and signing deadline being last Monday.
Yeah.
Obviously, these decisions are made behind closed doors beforehand and then announced nearer the time.
Yeah.
So
I think
it's been interesting to see.
Yeah, I think it's a really smart move. In all honesty, obviously the Arrows have been decimated by the scrum half position, so it's you can pick up a guy like Jamie McKenzie that's been around. Obviously, is a scrum half that's had a long and great career, but despite being retired, he's obviously been around the team a lot. Has calling the games for TSN. He knows the system. He's played 2 games for Balmy Beach so far this year to get some game time back under him, and hopefully we'll see a little bit of him maybe against New England, maybe later on in the year. But he's a great player, and look forward to seeing one of the OG Arrows back on the pitch.
And unfortunately, we have to pass on some news that was announced today of a different player, a former Arrow original. Theo Sorda has had to announce his retirement from rugby due to injury. Theo obviously played for the Arrows. He also represented Canada at the Men's Rugby World Cup in 2019. He's been part of the Canada Sevens team on the World 7 series and has also represented Canada at the Olympics in Tokyo. And it was announced today, and it's always disappointing when a player has to retire due to injury. Some people have even been saying that they'd hope that he would return to MLR possibly after the Commonwealth Games, but unfortunately he's suffered injuries, he's suffered concussions, and he has said that he wanted to continue, but unfortunately he has to listen to his body and think about the long-term implications, and has decided to hang up the boots. So Theo, shame to see you go, but thank you for everything you've done, both in the Arrows jersey and in the Canada jersey as well. And we wish you all the best in the next step of your life. Now, some news about the Arrows Academy has come up, and it is a new competition coming out, which is the Coast to Coast Cup, which will be between the Arrows Senior Academy, the Atlantic Selects, and the Canada West Selects. And the Coast to Coast Cup will take place between May and June. All of these matches will be held out in Nova Scotia, so basically Atlantic Selects home turf. And it starts on May 28th with the Atlantic Selects versus the Senior Academy. Then on May 31st, it is Canada West Selects versus the Senior Academy, and finishes on June the 4th between the Atlantic Selects and the Canada West Selects. And speaking of the Canada West Selects, they were playing a game against the American Raptors on Saturday. So, conveniently just before the Arrows kicked off, we were able to watch some of the upcoming players for both Canada and America. It was divided into 2 40-minute games, I believe. So
it was like a full 80-minute game, but Canada West Selects used 2 different 15s in each half. So it's like the posted a final score of 40-17 for the 80 minutes, but like the first half was the mainland team, and then the second half was the Vancouver Island team.
Okay.
So it was like one game, but and then the mainland and Vancouver Island played like a 30-minute or some odd game after too. So I guess that's kind of the way that they did that. To probably just get more guys some game time before under the development a little bit. But the Raptors were actually winning this game at one point 12-0 before mainland came back initially. So they were up. Sorry, the Island was the first team in the first half. So the Island came back and it was 14-12 by the end of the first half. And then the mainland, in their 40 minutes were up 26-5 for the total of 40-17. So I mean, it's I think overall though, like it's really exciting to see a tournament or a competition like this taking place. I believe the Arrows Academy play New England next Saturday as well in Oakville. So they're going to get a little bit of game time too before heading out east. I think it's a really important thing to have. It's nice to see, like, it was just, at the end of the day, there's only so many MLR spots, and there's they're tough to come by, right? It's obviously the best league on the continent, and it's a difficult league to break and get into. So I think it's great to see that where Canada is developing like this an elite level competition where guys can use it as like a stepping stone to get to MLR through like the Arrows Academy or through playing for the Canada West Selects slash Coastal Cup All-Star team, and the Atlantic Selects as well, right? So playing some representative rugby across the country. So it's great to see. It's great to see these all these teams coming together, getting some competition for everybody, and putting more players in a high performance environment, right? Which is only going to benefit any of the MLR teams that are looking to pick up some players as reinforcements, or any new signings. So you're gonna have more guys playing at a high level, especially the Toronto Arrows, with a lot of this being in Canada. And it obviously benefits Rugby Canada a lot to get more guys in a high performance environment more often. So great to see that this competition's coming up, and looking forward to watching it. You can also watch the Canada West Selects versus the Raptors game on YouTube as well. I think it's on the UBC Thunderbirds YouTube channel. So go check it out.
All right, from Academy games on to the rest of round 15 in MLR. We start up with a battle for the East between New England and Atlanta. And, I don't know what it is about New England, but apparently when they play other Eastern teams or other Eastern teams that are trying to make the playoffs, it's always really close games, because New England, Atlanta, the final score was New England 15, Atlanta 10. So New England, as we mentioned before, now on a 10-match winning streak. Atlanta still in their losing slump. But this seemed to be a game to expose tempers more than anything else.
Oh, man, yeah. Was there enough cards in this game or what?
Yeah, was that 5 yellow cards? One of which should have been a red. The McDowell hit on Keys. Yeah,
it should have been a red because it was on a Canadian anyways, but that alone should have got it a red. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, no, I agree with you. That was head to head. I don't know how that was just a yellow, but I mean, and then I guess if you're an Atlanta fan, I guess your big beef is that McDowell scores the game-winning try later as well, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, I think hold on, how many cards did we have?
5. So
5, yeah.
So Peretti, McDowell, Larson, Momsen, and Dam.
Yeah, well, Peretti and Momsen had that was like that was like a hockey penalty. That was like the offsetting, like, fighting major or whatever both guys go. But it was 14 on 14 for 10 minutes there. That was kind of wild. Yeah. 5 cards. Is that a record? We got to get James on that. That's a lot of cards.
Yeah, I'm sure James Dealey will.
James Dealey, text us. Let us know. Is that the most cards in a game? That's like, I mean, if you really break that down too, that is, like you said, that's 50 minutes of this game was not played 15 on 15 at least.
Yeah.
At least how are these separated? Yeah.
Dam got his yellow card in the 38th minute. So. Yeah. And then McDowell got his on the 52nd, and then as soon as McDowell gets back on the field, Larson then gets a yellow card.
Yeah, very, very wild. Very wild. And then, like you said, it's like that McDowell one. I guess that's the controversy around the game, right? Should that have been a red card? And then, he scores the match-winning try in the 75th minute, right? Yeah. So, and then I guess De La Vega Medina has the late penalty that brings Atlanta within the losing bonus point. So they maintain, I believe, it is what now, a 7-point lead on the Toronto Arrows for that final playoff spot. Definitely, the Arrows are in reach still, man. They are
they're in reach, but
definitely not out of this.
They're not out of it. They're not out of this, but unfortunately, neither are Rugby ATL. I mean, obviously, we can hope they keep losing, but
yeah, they have not been good lately.
But I have a feeling that Fire and Ice Cup will determine who.
Oh, that's
the playoff.
That's probably going to be what it is. Like, I mean, I feel like no matter what the result is next week, the week coming up here, it's like it seems like that's going to be the game that it comes down to. Is going to be the Fire and Ice Cup, right? So the Arrows I think the Arrows really need to win this week. We'll see what happens with Atlanta. I mean, the Arrows can't really afford to lose at all because they're 7 points back, right? So that alone is 2 wins. Like, you need at least 2 wins out of that. So,
yeah.
Right. So that'll be interesting. But what a wild physical, really ill-tempered game. In New England, who still hasn't lost at home in their franchise history. Kind of wild too.
Right, now we move on to, because unfortunately after the Arrows kicked off, an hour later we had 2 games going at the exact same time. But we'll talk about one.
And the Leaf game, that was wild trying to keep up with everything.
Yeah, but no one really cares about the Leaf. No one cares about hockey in Canada. Come on.
I did love the fact that the Canadian Saturday night viewing, you got to choose between Hockey Night in Canada and the Toronto Arrows game. Sportsnet with Hockey Night in Canada, and then TSN rocking the Arrows on their main national channel. It's kind of awesome.
All right, back to the rugby. So let's go out west, because it was Houston hosting Utah, and even before everything kicked off, this was the first MLR game ever to be broadcast in Spanish. So, expanding the audience. Obviously, Texas having a pretty predominant Spanish-speaking population. So, getting more eyes on the product is always a good thing, in my opinion. But this was an incredibly close game. The lead going back and forth throughout its entirety. It was, it was an absolute thrill. This was a game compared to the Arrows game, and the other game we'll talk about was the one which had actual drama and tension throughout it. There wasn't a blowout lead or anything like that. You're just on the edge of your seat throughout. But no, this was a game that Utah needed to win and needed to get like the bonus point win as well. But, Houston were pretty much in the driving seat, getting the first. They got the first try. Utah got a penalty within the first 5 minutes, I believe, and then Kotzer got the first try, and then we had Van der Schiff get the second in 10 minutes later. And then, Utah got back into this game, and, they scored 2 tries within 3 minutes of each other. But then Imura got another try as well. And then in the second half, there was just a bit of action. And Zach Pangalinen's try was caused by just handling errors from Utah and just optimizing from Pangalinen to get that easy 7-pointer, which also secured Houston a try bonus point as well. And this loss means that Utah is officially out of playoff contention. And man, had the might have fallen, the team that finished second in the West last year now finishes second last, or had the potential to finish second last in the West this season. The final score: Houston 31, Utah 27.
Yeah, and Houston kind of the opposite of Utah, right? Like one of the worst teams in the league last year. Now they look like they're kind of, I guess, they're in a real tight playoff race with San Diego and Seattle, but they kind of, especially since they have a game in hand on both of them, they kind of look like they might have a bit of an edge right now. So could be well on their way to their first playoff appearance. And for my money, probably have the best city jersey that the MLR has released so far this year. The space motif with the astronaut in the skyline. That was an unreal look from the Sabercats, who I've always thought have had one of the best kits in the league, but their home and away kind of disappointed me this year. So nice to see them bounce back with an Unreal City kit.
Yeah, I mean, that City jersey is just a thing of beauty, probably the best of the City. And there seem to be a lot of City jerseys.
There's a lot of really nice City jerseys
this round. So
yeah, they did a good job. New Orleans had a really nice one too. The Mardi Gras with the skyline, that looked really good. Yeah, no,
it's also something meant Dallas were wearing their City jersey when they
Dallas was wearing their City jersey up here. I like Dallas's City jersey, although it doesn't look quite different enough from their regular jersey. It's just like the gradient seems to have a little bit of a different shape, but I like Dallas's jerseys overall this season have really grown on me. Even San Diego is wearing like a camouflage military appreciation jersey. So it's a big kit nerd weekend this week.
Speaking of NOLA's City jersey, we head down to Louisiana to talk about their return to the gold mine. And, Derek, I think we jinxed it by saying that NOLA have yet to win a game at home.
Yeah.
Well, they certainly took their time showing it, but man, did they get the win this time. Pat O'Toole scoring a try in the second minute. NOLA getting 3 tries within the first 10 minutes. But we have to mention the Canadian contribution of Luke Campbell scoring for DC, getting them on the board. And that was in the 20th minute. So, just before the hydration break, just showing that they still had some fight in them for this match. Unfortunately, 2 minutes later, Harry Wheeler scores the first of his hat trick of tries and secures the try bonus point for NOLA. And, NOLA were just in control from this point onwards. It seemed as though the Saka got a try for the 37th minute for DC, and then Saifuloi got a try right at the death on the 80th minute. By which point it was obviously too late. And, as I mentioned, Wheeler got a hat trick. He got his second try in the 66th minute and then followed up with the third in the 70th minute. And yeah, it was just an absolute shocker from NOLA to actually win a game at home.
Win a game at home, season. Yeah. I know now they're 1-6. So that's good. It's nice to get some big dub for their home fans that have been coming out. And hey, you said shout out to Luke Campbell. Nice run off the 8-man pick from the back of a scrum there. I think the scrum there was a penalty and he did a little quick tap at the back of the scrum, but crashed through a couple NOLA defenders and picked up a very nice try. And kind of interesting. It's like as we're getting to the end of the season, as it's winding down, this was kind of really the only game that doesn't have that big of an impact on the playoffs, seeing as NOLA and DC have both been eliminated, but still some entertaining rugby to be played between the two clubs, though.
Yeah, you gotta still have your heart in it.
We talk about
even if you're playing for pride at this point.
Yeah. So now do we get to move on to arguably the weirdest game in MLR history, or?
Yeah. So you do mean New England, Seattle, correct?
New York, Seattle. Yes.
Sorry, New Jersey and
okay.
Seattle.
I mean,
hilarious. No one's made that joke before
because they're in New Jersey. Imagine if we called every sports team based on where they actually played and stuff.
I mean, the York Arrows probably. It doesn't really have the same ring.
Was it Tukwila Seawolves? I can't remember what that city is.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, on to the match itself. Now, just before the game was about to kick off, there was a list of changes coming in for New York, including Andrew Coe moving from the bench to fullback after Sam Windsor was ruled out of the game. But I mean, it worked out well for him because within the first 5 minutes, Coe had got a try for New York and got them set off. So
it was a very nice try too.
It was a very nice try.
It was a great pass from O'Connor to put Coe through that gap too.
Then it was Seattle who got the next try, and it was more a case of like New York just kept infringing at the line, and then as a result, it was a penalty try. And then there was Jack Hyten had a penalty as well, so it was 10-7 to New York. And then Alatimu got his penalty, and then it was 10-all. And then just on the stroke of halftime, Jack Hyten got his second penalty. And so 13-10 at halftime. And the second half was basically non-stop. Who else to score a try for New York but Dylan Fawcett in 4 minutes after half-time? Then it was Dan Creel for Seattle. Then it was Geiger for New York. And then it was Iosefo for Seattle. And at this point, Seattle now have, Jack Hyten had only been able to get like the conversion for Coe. He hadn't been able to get it for Fawcett or Geiger. Alatimu had been able to get it for Creel. So it's basically like a 1-point lead to Seattle. And then we get the penalty try. So Rhino Hubs gets a yellow card in the 75th minute. New York opts to take the scrum. And New York scrum is so powerful, it knocks over the post.
Yeah.
On an unrelated note, we also all discovered that this JFK Stadium and the pitch don't actually have any holes in which to put posts in. They're all flat. But
yeah, I guess that's the first time somebody's run into them all year. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, when we say like go for a try underneath the posts, we mean
go under the
post. When we mean go under the post, we don't literally mean go under the bottom of the post.
Go through them. But that's what I mean. Like this was just felt like just such a bizarre game for just just unusual things happening in it. Like there was obviously that at the start of the game where it was like Matthews, I guess, didn't understand or know what lines they were playing and tried to like ground the ball in the in-goal area and wasn't across the try line. And then Andrew Coe just lit him up. So there was that. Later in the game too, like Geiger tried to ground the ball like 5 meters short of the line. Which was also kind of odd. But then, like you said, you had the scrum that goes through, like they just drove right through the posts, which was a very bizarre sight to see. And then there's like a fire alarm going off for like the final 15 minutes of the game too, which just a bit of a unusual contest for sure. I don't know if we have like a ranking of like the strangest games or the strangest things that have happened in MLR games, but I feel like this game is kind of up there. Also, New York rocking a city jersey as well, conveniently pretty predominantly all black, given their recent acquisitions. This was Nahalo's first game, and he had some decent runs throughout the game, but bigger impacts probably biggest impact from the outside backs definitely came from Andrew Coe. So he's playing really well this year.
Yeah, and this isn't looking great for Seattle. Obviously, they needed any points they could. They were within striking distance again, like the losing bonus point, but that penalty try just gave New York an 8-point advantage, which eliminated them. And now they're going into a bye week, whilst Houston and San Diego still have opportunities to, make up the difference, get ahead of them, and
San Diego's got the worst bye week though, because they play.
That's the final week, isn't it? Yeah.
So I mean, Houston's going to make up their game in hand on Seattle this weekend. So I guess if Houston wins, then that's a big jump on Seattle, who is now has a similar 7-7 record to San Diego, but they're 1 point back of San Diego. Houston's at 8-5 with a game in hand on both of them. So,
and do you know who Houston's playing?
Do I know? I literally just did the script and looked at all the matchups. Who are they playing? Are they playing San Diego?
No. DC.
They're playing DC. Oh, they're playing DC. Oh boy.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Oh boy.
All right. We're going to move on to the final game of round 15, which was for the Cali Cup. San Diego versus Los Angeles.
Good game.
And this was another good game to watch. I was able to catch the highlights of it, and it seems like Joe Peterson, proving that he's a mainstay for Legion faithful, putting up, I believe it was 21 points in this match, with scoring a try, 2 conversions, and 4 penalties. Yeah, fantastic. And no Canadian scorers in this game for either side, unfortunately. But
so many Canadians in the game, though.
That is true. And Jason Higgins offload to Marnonu, send him up for a try, which basically is as close to a Canadian try as we're going to allow. So
that was
Marnonu, honorary Canadian for
yeah, exactly. That was a classic Nanu try too, man. Just off the scrum, and then just pour. I mean, Billy Meeks, I think, is one of the better centers in the league and is very good defensively. But I mean, like, dude, I don't know what you do there. Like, you just be like, yeah, Nanu got the ball and 4 feet away from you. Like, you just take the contact and hope he falls down, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and all 5 of LA's Canadians featured in this match. Leilalu Ayayi Malkin as well, and got replaced by Justices Daru. Lindsay Stevens came off the bench for Tuala at the hour mark. Corey Thomas played the full 80, and Ben Lesage played up until the second hydration break as well. Michael Smith came on off the bench for Chris Robshaw at the 51st minute. Jason Higgins also played full 80. And unfortunately, Pat Leinart and Josh Thiel weren't used by San Diego, which is disappointing. But, they leave not only with the win, but also with the Cali Cup as well. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. LA heading down to Dallas, and Legion will be heading east to take on NOLA Gold. And as we just mentioned, Legion obviously needing to get the wins. And
the West is wild, man. Wild.
The West is so close this year. It's great. Yeah, and that's the thing is we're in the East, we're focused on Toronto, seeing if they'll be able to make the playoffs. But the gap between LA in second and Seattle in fifth is 8 points. Mm-hmm. And anything can happen. We've still got 3 rounds to go. Obviously, as we mentioned, San Diego and Seattle still need to have their bye weeks at some point, and be interesting to see how this all unfolds. But
for sure,
definitely one to watch. All right, now we need to go national because we're talking about Rugby Canada. And actually, they announced this last week, and we just forgot to mention.
We forgot about this one.
Yes. We forgot to mention, but that's just because tickets are going on sale after we record it. So by the time this is up, you'll be able to get your tickets to some of these games. And that is Rugby Canada have announced their 15s matches for this summer. So this doesn't include the Pacific 4 series. This will be everything happening in July and August. And first up, we have the men's 15s. On July 2nd, Canada will play Belgium at the Wanderers grounds in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And on July 10th, they will face the French Barbarians for the first time at TD Place in Ottawa. The women's 15s will be playing a month apart from each game. They will have their first fixture against Italy on July 24th. That'll be at Starlight Stadium in Langford, British Columbia. And then on August 27th, Canada will then host Wales, who will at the same time be having like a 1-week training program in Canada. And that will again be at the Wanderers ground at Halifax, Nova Scotia. So by the time you listen to this, tickets will be on sale for the men's 15s. And I believe it is a few weeks later that you can get tickets for the women's 15. So if you are near Halifax, Nova Scotia, Ottawa, Ontario, or Langford, British Columbia, there'll be a chance to see some real Canadian rugby this summer.
Yeah, are we doing a Rouge Rugby road trip to Ottawa or Halifax? Where are we going?
We'll see. Yeah, Halifax may be a bit out of my stead, but Ottawa maybe. We'll see.
Other thing to mention too, obviously, the Pacific 4 series that the women are playing in. So that's starting off in June 5th versus the United States, June 12th versus New Zealand, and June 18th versus Australia. All full tournament taking place in New Zealand this year. The women's 15 side, they announced their roster for that tournament as well. So that's up on the Rugby Canada website. So a pretty stacked lineup, man. Lots of Premier 15 players, lots of unreal Canadian players, talent as well. So looking forward to seeing them battle this summer. And then, when they win the Pacific 4 series, they get to come back home, play those 2 exciting games, and then go on and dominate the World Cup later this year. So exciting time for women's rugby in Canada.
An exciting time. We're looking forward to watching those games and reporting on them. It's going to be good to watch. And speaking of Rugby World Cups, it was announced by World Rugby that they have decided on the hosts for the 2025 through to 2033 tournaments. So the Women's World Cup of 2025 will be hosted in England. The Men's World Cups of 2027 and the Women's World Cup of 2029 will be hosted in Australia. And the Men's World Cup of 2031 and the Women's World Cup of 2033 will be hosted in the United States.
Woo!
Which is fantastic news.
USA. No.
Yeah. No.
No, you don't. All right. Well,
not on this podcast. Come on.
You know what? This is the one time I'm genuinely excited about USA Rugby. This is awesome news.
Yeah. And actually something that was announced that the USA plans to expand the men's tournament to 24 teams. The women's tournament in 2025 will be expanded to 16 with the possibility of further expansion later. But it's the USA intends for the tournament to be 24 teams. That doesn't mean that it will just be the men's tournament in 2031. It could even be the 2027 tournament opens up to 24 teams as well. But obviously in 2031, the USA as host will automatically qualify for that tournament. So the question that I have is, because of that instance, does that mean that there'll be a smoother qualification process for Canada or the Americas? Because not only will the USA take up the slot of hosting, but if they expand to 24 teams, that means other regions around the world will therefore have more opportunity to qualify. It could be, one more spot for the Americas, one for Africa, one for Asia or the Pacific region, and then another slot for Europe as well. So with those opportunities, do you think it'll be less complicated for Canada to qualify for this tournament?
Well, I guess just on the basis of the fact that the United States are going to automatically qualify as the host. It's one less team you have to beat, right? So
yeah,
that's obviously a positive. I mean, I know probably if the tournament does expand to 24 teams, that's obviously going to open up more opportunities to qualify for the World Cup too, right? Because there's going to be more teams. So I mean, that's that. If they're expanding, it's in the Americas region, which means the host is going to be there. Argentina is probably going to be there. I think so. I mean, yeah, perhaps it will be easier. I mean, I guess if you want to take like the super optimistic point of view too, is that this is going to be 9 years from now. So hopefully Rugby Canada is in a bit of a different spot than they are at this point in time anyways, right? Like you would hope that over the next 9 years, it's going to be building and, maybe to the point where it's like, hey, you don't even necessarily have to worry about qualifying either, right? Like if you can put in some good tournaments elsewhere and stuff, and maybe maybe you can get like within 9 years, you get back to the point of beating teams like Uruguay on a regular basis again, right? So, that I think that's the hope too. I mean, it'd be cool as well. Like, it's gonna honestly, I think it's gonna be so cool having the United States hosting the Rugby World Cup. It's definitely going to mean a lot more like visibility on the sport in North America. It's a big opportunity for Canada too, especially to get involved in a World Cup that would be so close to home. I know Patrick Johnston at Rising Action on Twitter, he had a quote from Jamie Levchuk, the interim CEO right now, saying that he said that we look forward to exploring opportunities with potential host partners in Canada in the years ahead. And Johnston himself added that he believes that there's already been some talks with USA Rugby about possibly hosting some of the matches. So maybe you can get a Toronto or a Vancouver or an Edmonton or Winnipeg or wherever it may be, Halifax or something, event or a game or a pool stage game or something in Canada. That would be cool if Canada can kind of get involved in that. But yeah, it's obviously really big news, man. It's going to be just a absolutely massive sporting event. Curious to see the list of cities that they had was interesting. Obviously, a mix of MLR, NFL, and MLS cities, and those cities that have the stadiums to accommodate, um, you know, playing, in front of probably like 30 to 70,000 people or something like that. And I mean, obviously, you got some places in the United States too that like the big house in Michigan that's like 110,000 people, which might be kind of cool to slam like like a all black Springboks game or something in front of just a massive crowd. I think that might be a cool thing to do. There's a lot of cool places where you can kind of play games and stuff.
Well, there's also the speculation that because these are going to
Yeah.
be held in NFL stadia, that they'll actually move the tournament earlier, and it's normal scheduled slot of like
What's the
September,
thing though?
October.
It's like not every NFL stadium though can fit a full size proper rugby pitch, right?
Yeah, that is
So
true.
that
So,
there is that. So I mean, maybe it's something you explore the possibility of hosting it a little bit earlier, or maybe you just like I don't know, kick who cares? Kick the Chargers and the Rams can go on the road for 4 weeks. It's fine. Like they'll be fine. Like they'll be they'll be fine.
all right. It's going to be a fair while until we see some Rugby World Cup action take place south of the border. But if you are looking to watch any rugby this weekend, these are the places you can do so. The HSBC World Series Sevens returns in Toulouse, and you can catch the action from the men's and women's tournaments this weekend on CBC and CBC Gem. It is the final rounds of the Premiership and the United Rugby Championship, and you can catch that on Sportsnet. Super Rugby Pacific continues on TSN. It is the semi-finals of Japan League One. You can find that on the Rugby Network, and you can also find all the non-Arrows games on the Rugby Network as well. And if you are not able to come along to the Arrows match against New England this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, then you can watch it on TSN. So, Derek, we have come to our predictions for round 16, and we start off with Toronto versus New England.
First of all, if you can't make it to York Lions Stadium this weekend, you should cancel your other plans because this game is clearly more important. So come down to York Lions Stadium. Toronto's going to win. Toronto's going to win.
Yeah, that's the thing. Records have to end at some point.
I think they're riding a bit of a high after last week, and it's going to be the biggest game of the year. And I mean, if we know anything about the Arrows, is like they show up in big games. So looking forward to seeing them end this illustrious 10-game winning streak that the Free Jacks have going right now.
Okay, second game we have is DC versus Houston. And, DC, they've already been eliminated from playoff contention. Houston, they're currently third. And they do have a game in hand as well. I think they're going to want to ensure that they put Seattle and San Diego behind them as much as possible. So I'm going to go with the Sabercats.
Yeah, I think I got to agree with you, man. I think there's always something about a team that's got a little bit more to play for that'll show up. And I mean, there's been some upsets in the league this year already, but I think you got to back Houston.
Okay, the third game this week is Dallas versus LA. Derek, who do you have?
Oh God, LA. The question isn't who wins this game. The question is by how much.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like if you were to say, okay, sure, LA will put in, like their second team or their team that hasn't played much together or hasn't had much game time. Who does that include? Matt Gittow?
Yeah,
I mean, it's the
same as the Arrows. Like the Arrows rested a lot of guys this week and still destroyed them. Like I think like the Arrow. Okay, so the betting line for the Arrows game, the spread for the Arrows game was plus 42.5. So do you think it's going to be?
I think it's going to be it's
higher
be
for
plus 50
something
or higher.
Wow.
All right, fourth game. It is the New Orleans Gold hosting San Diego.
Ooh.
And after they finally got a win at home in front of their fans, I know San Diego is going to be in the same position as Houston. They're going to be pushing for that playoff spot. And also San Diego has more Canadians in their squad to choose from. And hopefully in this game will actually play all their Canadians. I'm going to go with the Legion.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you. I mean, this is going to be a boring pick week, but I do agree with you.
All right, we have another.
Looking at the next two games, it's going to be a really boring pick week.
Yeah, we a Western clash of Utah versus Austin. Utah are now eliminated from playoff contention. Austin sitting pretty atop of the Western Conference, and I don't think it'll be this game. They still got a bit of space between themselves and LA. And they know that LA will be facing Dallas, and they'll be wanting to ensure that they get the win to continue their gap between their cocktail cousins.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Austin.
Yeah, again, I agree with you, man. Austin's just better than Utah. They got more to play for right now. I'll keep rolling with Austin too. And I feel like we're going to lean the same way on this game.
Yeah, because this is the Eastern clash that could very well help or hinder the Arrows substantially.
Yeah.
It is New York versus Atlanta.
I mean, New York at home. New York's been playing well. Who knows? There could be by the time this game happens, there might be 7 All Blacks in their lineup. So who knows? Yeah, I think you got to go. I think I'm going to take New York. For just because they are playing really well right now. They're getting some reinforcements, and honestly, I think it might be the better outcome for the Arrows if Atlanta loses. So I'm gonna put the that energy in the air that because it's it'd be better to have one team in reach, I guess, than have 2 teams that are 7
always
plus
touching
points
away.
up. Yeah, so. Let's go. I'll hopefully Andrew Coe giving his hometown team a little bit of help this week would be nice.
Yeah, this is completely boring because we picked the same teams, but this is the head and heart pick for me. As in, my heart wants New York to win so that they can help the Arrows as much as possible, but also New York have just been on a tear at the moment, and Atlanta, I think this is the 3rd game on the bounce that they've lost, but also what I'm hoping is that New York will do to Atlanta what they did to Seattle. It's like, we'll keep you close. We'll keep you close to a losing bonus point. Boom, try. You get nothing. There you go.
I think, is this the first week we've picked the same teams unanimously?
This season? Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, so damn.
So those are Derek's picks, and those are my picks. But if you're looking for the Toonies picks, you can find them on our TikTok account at the Rouge Rugby. You can find us across social media, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the Rouge Rugby. And if you like listening to this episode of the podcast, you can listen to others on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor FM. And if you like watching our beautiful faces, you can find our podcast episodes in their entirety on our YouTube channel. Derek, where can people find you on social media?
At Brissette the Jet across all social media platforms.
And you can find myself across social media, but mainly on Facebook and Twitter at Hardman, spelled H4RDMAN. Well, Derek, thank you for joining me, and thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Rouge Rugby podcast. We'll hope you can join us again next time.